Hello and welcome to the Unbound podcast. This is a very special episode, and you might notice this voice over here is not the nice voice of Ben or Jonathan. This is Abraham Chen, and I'm here for one of the first times in person with a bunch of Unbounders to record the podcast. So we'll kind of start down the line. We have all these cool people. We'll start down with Molly. Can you just introduce yourself? Say who you are, and mention your involvement with community, like what you did.
Sure, yeah. So obviously I'm Molly. I was an Unbound student starting in 2016, and then I graduated in 2019. I was on the cabinet twice with Ellie, and I've just kind of hung out since then, I guess. And I'm still here.
Tim, go for it.
Yep, my name is Tim, and I joined the Unbound community in 2017, fall of 2017. So I'm a little bit younger. I still feel younger in the community. Didn't have a lot of actual involvement in the community until 2020, after Capstone, and then with the Spark events. I figured out that I was missing out on a lot of fun, missing out on a lot of really cool people, just spending time with them. So made a few intentional efforts to get more involved, and it's been a fun ride since.
Cool. My name is Ellie Smith, and I have been Unbound since 2015. I enrolled as a student, and I attended APEX within, I think, 6 weeks, and then have been around ever since. Kept attending APEX, was on the cabinet twice, like Molly said, and then that's how I ended up getting the job that I have now, which is Director of Admissions at Unbound. So.
Mm-hmm. And my name is Matthew. I joined the Unbound community back in March of 2017. Didn't do anything until I came to Capstone in 2018 with Abe, and Molly was there. It was great Capstone. And then joined the, I guess you could say, eternal SLI in 2019. And then was a part of the 2020 cabinet, and now I am working as the Consumer Relations Director with Unbound.
Yeah, well, I'm Abe. I am the guy who makes everyone look good as best as I can.
On Slack, it says he makes us look pretty. So.
Yes, there you go.
Accurate.
So actually, I'm here sitting with cabinet. I'm surrounded by cabinet, and I'm realizing, so I'm one of the few people who wasn't on like almost anything. So I started out in Unbound in late 2015. I was the video intern, or I ran the YouTube channel from around 2016 to 2017. And now I work with Unbound, again, making people look pretty. And so it is cool being surrounded by cabinet. Tell us what cabinet is again, for those of us listening who aren't completely sure what you guys do. Let's put it this way. So I feel like a lot of people have heard cabinet and they like plan stuff, but what do you guys really do? Like, what's the day-to-day look like?
What's the behind the scenes?
Exactly.
What do we actually do?
As the most current cabinet member, I think Tim should take this.
Yeah,
please,
take it away.
Yeah, of course. So as cabinet, obviously our main thing that we do is plan APEX. It's what we're known for. And there's a lot of details that goes into that. Basically, we're a team of 8 people that makes APEX happen. And that involves everything from nailing down speakers who are going to get into speak. First of all, we start off with theme, what our theme is going to be for the year, different topics. And then planning out all kinds of like activities, special events that fit the theme. Figuring out how we can work stuff like explosives into APEX that's safe without breaking rule number 4.
Heck yeah.
That's pretty much what we do. It's a lot of planning. There's some initial in-person meetings, and then beyond that, there's hours and hours spent on Zoom and Google Meet, and it seems like thousands of documents, tons of writing, and we get to do it with a bunch of really fun people. So.
I'd like to disagree with some of what Tim said, which is he said it's just a lot of planning. I hate planning. I had a great time on the cabinet, which leads me to believe it's only a small part planning.
Well,
maybe it just means that Molly didn't do very much.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Planning. For some people, it's maybe more just not
a fun time.
It's fun time.
Just go along for the ride.
The whole time.
Okay. That is not true.
Now we know what you did on cabinet.
Okay.
Would you like to clarify?
Okay, I think cabinet is kind of what you make it. And so if you like planning, then you do a lot of planning. If you don't like planning, then you still care about doing a good job on the cabinet, which I did, then you find another role that's not planning oriented that you can still succeed at. So like I did a lot of marketing, which I guess there's some planning to marketing, but a lot of it is just like action and doing and like going out and talking to people, and like there's a lot of spontaneity in that from my perspective, because you just have to like make stuff up and roll with conversations when you're in sales. But even with like emails, there's still a lot of creativity and kind of like pivoting around, oh, what promo did we decide to do right now, or oh, what like speaker do we have now? There's a lot more like just rolling with the chives.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, not to mention, like, we are currently sitting in Virginia because we were here filming a bunch of promos, and there is that aspect where current cabinet member Tim got to dress up in all sorts of stuff and get beat up and like, you know, thrown around in a cart and all that. So there's the fun side of that as well. Like Apex
Definitely
promos coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. When is Apex happening this year?
August 14 to 18.
Yep. And registration is still open till, do you know?
End of May?
Yes.
Is that right, Ellie?
End of
Right,
May
regular
is regular registration.
Yeah.
Late is through July 31st.
There you go.
Mhm.
So if you want to experience everything that the cabinet has been planning, which is pretty fun and pretty crazy, you should sign up for Apex.
Definitely.
But plug aside, I love how we kind of got into this where, again, we mentioned we are all like different generations of Unbound people, or like even just different generations of leadership teams. And I really want to kind of talk about that where, yeah, Unbound has, we've been around for a little bit. We've had our different classes in and out, but it's so cool that it's all about community. It really is how, like, we're sitting here, all different classes, all different generations, but we are all friends, I think.
For the most part.
And we get to work together. We get to share, you know, wisdom and experience and just all of our collective ideas, you know, put together. So we had questions that every single one of you wanted to ask. And I am really looking forward to what you guys have. Just, I know, without further ado, we'll just roll with that. But before we go into that, I had a question. And yeah, it's a harder question. I love Molly just like staring at me.
I'm just afraid.
All right, here's the question. If you could invent a new color for a crayon, what would it be?
I thought you said to be specific to
I
Unbound.
asked this question here in the card. I was like, Ellie, I want to ask the correct question.
No, Abe said Unbound questions.
No, I do want to hear it because, yes, I did totally steal that from Molly, and I do want to hear her answer. So.
Okay, I love this question though, so I'm really excited. I will say, so I'll answer it
Go
for
for
myself
it.
because I love the question. But when I was thinking about how I could make it into Unbound, and this is not my question, so it's okay. But when I was thinking, I was like, how about what shade of Unbound color is your favorite? Because there's been like the light
yeah.
blue, there's been the dark blue, there's been like the green, there's been the red from College Plus.
Yeah, like
Anyways.
old red, yeah.
Anyways, no, I love this question. So, okay, I have to tell you, I've given significant thought to this question and determined that it's based on all of my experience with crayons, which I realized I have not been working with crayons for a while. So, like, there may be new crayon colors that I don't know about, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to get any comments on this podcast that are like, this color already exists, blah, blah, blah. But, okay, I remember distinctly when I was using crayons a lot, there was never a satisfactory purple, okay? It was
Really?
always like indigo or that like stupid grape color that's not actually the color of grapes, but it's like, ugh, I don't like it. So I would want there to be a satisfactory purple hue.
Can you describe a satisfactory purple hue? Like,
Okay,
where have you seen that before?
so it's like playing the color game. Okay, it's like, it is a dark purple, and it has like blue tints, but it is not indigo. This is a problem with Crayola. They like make it into the blue too quickly. It's like, Can we put like a link to a color swatch in the comments of the podcast? I will send you a good color swatch.
Yeah, I am
Of the
just
purple.
curious because I'm thinking when Molly will walk up to something and see purple and go, that is purple. What
Okay.
object would that be?
You also have to watch out. Here's the problem. There's like, the Balderdash box is super close to it.
That nobody
Well,
else
we'll
can
include
see.
it.
Zoom over. It's like a little bit darker and a slightly bluer than that. Just a tinge.
Nice.
Is that the color of your personality?
No. My personality is yellow. Which, after I thought of the answer to this question, someone else commented to me that there aren't very many satisfactory yellows, so if I had to have a second follow-up choice, it would be a good
That kind
yellow.
of makes sense. I can see you as a yellow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yellow's one of my favorite colors.
Yep.
Good.
Wow, the rest of you guys.
This question gives me anxiety.
We should.
Back in the day when I went to school, like in grade school, crayons came in like these, the little boxes, and you had like 15 different colors, and they were very distinct. Like you had red and black and blue and yellow, and it was pretty easy, to just select your colors. But over the years, the boxes kept getting bigger, and they kept adding these like descriptions onto the colors.
Sorry.
And I haven't kept up with them. So back in the day, we used to use colors to like color pictures, or we ate them. So thinking about we did that.
How much crayon did you eat?
We also ate glue sticks.
How? Was this like a daily snack, or was this like one time you tried it and it was fine?
It was occasional. It was probably more a dare thing that some of my friends and I did.
So this was multiple times.
Yes.
What was your favorite candy
Probably blue. To be honest, they all tasted the same as I remember, but probably blue because blue is my favorite color.
Did your teeth turn blue?
Temporarily, yes.
Ooh, so is that why you liked it? You're like, I got,
Maybe,
Now
but
it's
it's been a
color.
long time ago, so memory doesn't serve me too well on that.
So we need to do a crayon taste test. With
Yeah.
him to confirm,
Next video with Tim.
confirm his favorite flavor of crayon.
Sweet. All right.
So would you eat the whole thing or just pick them up?
No, it was just a taste.
Oh,
So we did. And glue sticks, I distinctly remember eating, like...
Is there a
pieces
brand of glue stick that tastes the best?
Yeah, I think it was if I remember right, I think it was the Elmer's. You could get the little
Right.
cylinders
Right.
that
Yeah.
you screwed. Yeah,
You just take a bite out of it.
yeah.
I would chew on them, but I don't swallow it.
Okay, like the crayons or the glue?
No.
The glue.
Yeah.
No, we never did liquid glue. We weren't dumb enough to do
No.
that.
Oh yeah,
So
not dumb
glue
enough to do that.
sticks.
Yeah.
Just a little dumb.
Yeah, just a little dumb. But inventing a new color, I don't know. That's a hard question. After seeing the color game, it's hard to believe that there are more colors that exist. Either there probably are.
See, I wouldn't invent a new color, but I would change how the colors are represented by the color of crayon. Because I feel like they never color exactly how they
That's
look.
a good thought.
And I think Victoria Grant mentioned this because she was saying that she has she likes the colors, but she doesn't like that she would grab one and think it was going to be indigo.
Okay, that
And then it
is
was
a problem
purple.
as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I would change the way that they're represented by the colors. But I wouldn't change
Yeah,
them.
good.
I wouldn't do a new color.
Did you eat the glue as well or something?
We did.
Oh, okay.
But Matt just chewed on it, so.
Does a glue stick make you high?
It does. So
I think it
I'm
can.
I am the most innocent homeschool boy here, apparently.
I didn't
see that.
I didn't swallow them.
Also, I will say that when I was a little kid, I would hear from my friends who went to school that eating paste was a thing, and I always just thought it was a joke. So good to know that that's a thing
No,
that actually
it's real.
happens.
And I went to a Christian school.
Oh my
The
gosh.
more you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do a video of Chen just eating this food.
Just looking happier and happier by the second.
Okay, so where were we?
We were talking about crayons.
Oh, how Tim ate crayons and glue sticks.
Yeah. Did you answer your question? Okay, what color would you go for? Oh, you said blue because you ate them.
Yeah, I mean, I like blue, but then I also like, I'm not sure I can say I would invent a new color, but I really like the color green that's on the Unbound logo. I think that's a really good shade of green. It's not too dark, it's not too light.
Yeah, it's not too
It's really
blue,
good.
but
Yeah,
it's a good
exactly.
green.
Yeah.
We should invent a crayon that's the Unbound green, so now all of our acceptance packets.
That's
I-
fantastic.
see,
Merge
Yeah.
a little box of crayons that's just all the Unbound colors.
Yes.
But should we put a label on that says the do not eat? Can we leave
Just
that
say,
up to...
Tim, do not eat.
Oh, actually, I just had an idea. What I would do is instead of inventing a new color, is I would give every color a flavor, and then every color would have a different flavor than you could eat it.
So you would encourage to eat.
I would encourage
Right.
It's like those scented markers.
Yes.
Do you guys ever have that? Like,
Yeah.
it's such a like
Yep.
90s, 2000s kid thing.
Yep.
Where you
Kids
totally
have
just like
those too.
sniff them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, my dad liked the smell of Sharpie so much that he would draw under his chin
Oh,
or his nose and walk around and got in big trouble as a kid.
Wow.
He loved the smell. So.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were
So
saying
funny.
it. Yeah, I thought you were saying that.
No, this is many years ago. Yes.
Interesting. Well, I was gonna say you totally stole my idea because I would totally have a crayon that's like the Unbound color, and you can just like write in so many things, and yeah, it would be really cool. I like that green a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, better than the old Lumeric blue. I'm gonna just say that. So
The light blue, like the
there was the light blue, and there was
because
the
there's
dark
also
blue.
the dark blue.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which did you dislike?
Well, I feel like the dark blue was basically a navy, and it was okay. It's, navy's a good color, but it was just very not unique. You know what I'm saying?
generic.
It was
Yeah.
very like
Yeah.
okay, it's just navy.
Okay.
Right.
We're not like Old Navy here or something, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. Huh. Ellie?
So I was saying that I would not invent a new color. I would change the way the colors are represented by the color of the actual crayon. Because I don't think that they color like the way that the crayon is colored. It's like when you pull out a color. Okay, so I was just talking to Victoria Grant about this. So when you would pull out, because you were talking about how like the blues and the purples kind of mesh together too quickly.
Right.
And so like when you want a blue color, like I would do this all the time. If I was coloring sky or eyes or something, I wanted blue, I would take one out and color with it, and it would turn out to be like a purple indigo color. But the crayon itself looked blue. And so I think the color of the actual crayons needs to be changed to represent the way that they color them.
Did anyone else have like on their like Sunday school coloring sheet like a little corner where they were testing out
Yes.
the crayons to like make
Yes.
sure that it wasn't like gonna ruin your whole picture?
It's how you identified the perfectionist kids.
Yeah.
Oh, because they had little color swatches.
Yep.
I totally did that. Wow, I feel so called out right now.
That's good. I think like for me, like drawing pictures, the two things that always bothered me is there was never like when I'm a boy, so like I drew many tractors, and there was never a perfect John Deere green. Like it was just impossible to find a
Interesting.
perfect John Deere green.
That is true.
But then the other thing too is I could never find a really good color for the sun because the yellows were either too bright or they were
Green.
too orange or green. And so
And the
it was never
greenish yellows are
perfect.
weird.
I don't know
Yeah.
what purpose that was supposed to serve.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Those are weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just remember starting like, because I like to draw myself and discovering how you just like do the circles around the sun to do the yellows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Well, we all kind of dated ourselves with all that crayons and knives and scented markers. That was amazing. I love that. So I think it's just like, it's fascinating. It shows kind of where we came from. But again, bringing it back to Unbound, where we had this, unique experience of just going into this era where, again, a lot of us had similar experiences growing up, but it's just cool to see how that, the different attitudes translate into our Unbound experience. But anyways, let's get to the questions. I think this is the main event. This will be fun. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Molly.
Okay. So my question is, of the Unbound events, because we've all been to different Unbound events, some earlier, some later, what was your favorite, like what has been your favorite like activity or element that you've done? So like, I know in 2017, for example, we did a boat race, and like it could be like my small group in this specific year or something like that. So I'm curious to know what has been your guys' favorite.
Yeah.
I think my favorite element of an event was actually at Gap. So Gap was Great Art Project in 2017.
Yep, 2017. We were both there.
Yeah, so we had this art-focused event in a cabin in the woods in California, in the mountains in Tennessee. Man. Anyway, mountains of Tennessee. I want to be in the mountains of California. That's
We're getting Ellie.
Anyway. Yeah, so we had it in a cabin in Tennessee, and there were lots of sessions and things that focused on different aspects of art, and it wasn't all like, it was all these different pieces. Like we had an author come speak, and we had all these different people. But during like free time at these events, all of the students would get together and do random art projects together, and so we would all work on different kinds of things. So it wasn't like the whole table would be drawing, like the whole table would be working on different pieces, and everybody was like sharing the different tools that they brought, and so it was just really cool to see like all the pieces that came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, so I really like hand lettering, and I had actually just recently kind of started doing that more frequent at that point, and I got to do that with a lot of other people, and I just remember being so fun to test out all these different tools all these other people had brought, and everyone was so excited to share them all with each other and to collaborate on projects with each other. That was actually one of the first like collaborative videos I remember being made was at Gap.
The hashtag relatable video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or at least the first time that I was around when a collaborative video was being made, which was also just so much fun to see everybody was like running around the house and making videos. So I think that was probably my favorite element, was just the spontaneous creativity that came out of that event. So
that was such an Unbound video too. That was the jankiest
thing. It was really great.
Yeah.
We should link it.
Yeah, we'll link it somewhere.
It was a lot of fun.
No, it was literally Jared Wiggins, shout out to him, and I saying, we really want to do a movie. We have no idea what we're doing, but let's do a movie. And so just like within those 4 days, we're like, guys, we'll sit down, we'll come up with this crazy story, we'll film it somehow. And we had like a fight scene, and we had like the whole like social media thing that you were part of. So that was a ton of fun. If you want to see younger Ellie.
You should not watch the video. Watch the video for everything else.
Yeah, but that was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like even that, I mean, it is very cliche to say community, but I do think that there is something unique with Unbound where we build community very quickly, and it is also like deep community where we have fun and we do crazy things together, but at the same time there is that bond where we can talk about life issues and we stay up till crazy hours of the morning talking about things, and like it is those like crazy, sometimes weird random things that we do that I think build that camaraderie that allow us to go deep and whatnot. So
and going off of that, you talked about late nights. That's easily been my favorite part of any event so far, was at Capstone. After the gala was done and after the dancing was all over and we spent like an hour praying, then most of the people went to bed, but there was a group of about 8 or 10 of us that stayed downstairs, and it all started with one question. And we ended up talking until 4:30 in the morning. And this was like if I remember right, it was like a 4 or 4.5 hour conversation.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because we were so into this and everybody was so exhausted. We'd all just almost be falling asleep, but we have to keep on going, have to keep the conversation rolling. And it was such a well-rounded conversation because we actually ended up making kind of a full circle and coming back to the topic that we started off with. And so it felt like it was a very well done conversation, and we covered a whole bunch of different aspects of it. Just being in that environment where you can ask all kinds of hard questions and you don't have to be afraid of like what other people think, but like everybody's in it to learn and everybody has a genuine curiosity with it. That's a fantastic environment to be in, and that's what happened that night at Capstone. So that's definitely a highlight for me.
Yeah.
there's so many things that come to mind. A lot of really good things. Like, I think back to the first event in Capstone in 18, and just the small group I was in was phenomenal, and the whole group of students. And then I know Abe and Molly will probably remember, like, that was right when Dr. Myers was coming out of a really dark season, and there's a lot of really good vulnerability and conversations, and he kind of, set an example that just kind of infiltrated the rest of the event, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of specific things. Like, there's been some pretty fantastic things. The Unbound's Got Talent is always a lot of fun pieces to that, and love being a part of that. Graduation at APEX. The Spark events were really cool. I have to say, personally, a highlight of all the Spark events was in Texas. And I saw a whole other side of Ben Phillips that I had never seen before. That was just phenomenal. And for those at home, just like very brief analysis of what happened there. Megan Weber had her playlist going for the dance, and Ben thought it was just phenomenal idea to drastically switch the music from one style to another in the middle of it, and then get the eye from Megan and go back and do it again. And yeah, it was phenomenal. Definitely didn't want to be on the same side of the room as Megan after that, but I did enjoy that. And then even recently, like getting up and filming with Abe and Tim and Tama at 6 a.m. at Capstone this past year.
That was epic.
Was pretty epic. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff.
I think that's even personally because I'm the guy who gets to do videos, but it is a great excuse to be in just random situations and trying to create stuff, and you get to capture a moment. So I definitely love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any for you, Molly?
Yeah, I would agree with Matthew. It's really hard to pick a moment, especially when you've been to a lot of events and it's like each one was really perfect in its time, So I wouldn't want to go back to a lot of the specific situations because now I'm like a few years down the road and I'm happy to be where I'm at now. But like at the time, it was really meaningful and like shaped, a part of who I am, and was really encouraging in that time. I think probably one of the mountaintop experiences was probably graduation when I graduated APEX, because that was just like phenomenal, and it was, I've heard from most people that it was the best graduation that APEX has ever had, so there's that. But it was also like, it was just really special to be graduating with people who had like just meant so much in my college journey, and then they also like they did a really good job with the graduation, and we got to party, which I love to party, we got to dance, which I love to dance, and it was really special because a lot of people really close to me were there, and several people really close to me graduated with me, so that was just really, really special.
So, random question here. Let's suppose that you were on Cabinet and you were planning an event for students that would involve a graduation. What suggestions would you have to top that graduation?
So I just had this exact conversation with Caitlin last week.
Oh, okay.
Caitlin brought shout to other Cabinet members.
Which she told, this may be a secret moment, because she told me that she was trying to figure out how to make it. So like one of the things that was really special at graduation in 2019 was you've probably heard this, but like at the end of the ceremony, they like opened up the back barn doors to the theater, and we turned around and there was like, and thank you for opening up the doors, Ashley. And there was like all the alumni were there, and it was a whole surprise. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. And then that was how we got sent off from the ceremony. Was we got to turn around and walk out be greeted by all the alumni. Cool. And it was really special. Like I think it was special for everybody. It was really special for me because both my sisters are alumni, and so they were there, and so they got to like be the first people who like greeted me after graduation. And Kayla and I talked about that because that was a total surprise, and that had never been done before in APEX graduation. And so we were like, is it going to be less special? Because now it wouldn't be as much of a surprise. And what I told her, and I'm happy to have a long conversation with you off the podcast because I just realized we're getting way off the podcast. But just to wrap up that thought, what I told her is that there's it would be interesting to look at the registration sheet and see how many of the people who are going to be there this year were there in 2019. Because I said if they weren't there in 2019, then they might not be quite as cognizant.
Yeah,
and I also said, I don't know how totally aware all the people in the audience were, like how much they internalized how special that was or kind of all what was happening. And so I said, I don't know, like, if that's something they would look forward to or not. Because Caitlin was like, I really look forward to that. But I was like, well, you kind of know everything that's going on. So you might have, it might not have been as much of a surprise to you anyways. So.
As an Unbounder, like, I think all Unbounders were a little emotional watching that. So
it was really special.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I also had a hilarious time because my tassel fell off, like, end cap fell off multiple times during the ceremony, and Michael Caprera and I had just a grand old time trying to fix that situation on stage as Jonathan was trying to wrap up the entire ceremony, and Michael and I are just, like, trying to fix my cap, which might sound terrible, but it was actually really hilarious.
That is really
part of what made it special. So.
Made it special, exactly.
Anyways, back on topic.
Graduation. Sweet. Do we all go with that?
I think so.
You all answered, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so I'm looking at time limit now, and this has been great. So I'm trying to see. So we asked you a question, right, Molly?
Mm-hmm.
Do we all have a question?
I have one.
Okay, man, this is tough. Okay, so you have a question. Do you guys have a question?
I didn't really have a specific one. I can come up with one.
Did you have a question?
Boat.
Well, let's ask you a question, and then we'll go with that. How's that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so Matt, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, with your involvement with Unbound and the student life community, was there a particular thing that happened or event that you were part of that made you decide that you wanted to get involved more with, like, leadership teams or, things on that end?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I remember very clearly when this happened, and it was at Capstone in 2020, a year ago. So I had been really looking forward to going to Colorado for Capstone, mainly because of the content and just being able to meet the other students and being in Colorado.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic place.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a time when I had everything scheduled to meet my coach in person for the first time.
Yeah.
So when it didn't work out, I was really bummed out. But Capstone 2020, shout out to everybody who made it happen. It was still a fantastic event, even though it was all virtual. A lot of people had to work really hard to make it happen, but it was still fantastic. And I remember coming away from those few days and just, like, sharing that experience with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It made it special for everyone, I think. And I remember coming away from that, I was thinking, man, if there would be a way that I could spend more time with people like this, like on a more regular basis, that would be just fantastic. So when I started getting a little bit more involved in the online community, but then when Apex Spark came up, it was actually kind of in my area. And so I decided to go. And then that definitely helped, like, push me more in that direction. Once I was actually in person with people, and it was with people that I knew, then that's when I really started taking steps to get more involved. And since then, like, every event has just helped move me faster in that direction.
That's really cool. Yeah. How about you guys? That's a great question. I'm curious.
I would definitely say Apex was the event that got me more involved in student life, or I guess created the desire to be involved in student life. I did not, so I attended twice, and then I was actually told by a friend that I should apply for cabinet. They're like, oh, have you ever thought about applying for cabinet? And I hadn't really, and I was like, why would I do that? And so I applied for cabinet on recommendation of a friend, and then I got on the first year, and it was a really, really great experience. Molly and I were on cabinet actually 2 years in a row together. It was a great experience, and I went back for a second year, and it was actually spending a year off cabinet that made me really want to be involved in student life. So I had spent time as a student, not really driven to get involved with student life. Like, I was happy as a student, attending the events and having fun. And then I was told I should apply for cabinet, so I did, and that was a great experience. And then it was whenever I stepped off cabinet and spent a year way less involved in student life when I realized that I really wanted to be involved long term. Okay. So it was actually taking somewhat of a break from that experience that made me want to. And I attended Apex in that time. So I went back to Apex as just like an attendee So I wasn't on staff. I didn't help plan the event. So I'd been kind of out of the loop that year. And just going back to that event and seeing it all happen again, I was like, yeah, I really want to be a part of this long term. So that's whenever I decided that it was something I wanted to pursue.
So you know where excuse me, let me try that again. It's more like you know what you want when you don't have it.
Exactly. Yeah. So like when I was on cabinet, if you had asked me, I probably would have been like, oh yeah, this is a lot of fun. And no.
You would not have been, this is a lot of fun.
No, I would have said that I liked working with student life.
Oh,
yeah.
Like cabinet as a whole, that sounds like we're gonna really bash cabinet as an experience. Cabinet as an experience is a challenging experience at times. Like there are times on the cabinet where it's a lot of fun. There are times when it's very challenging.
100%.
And it all depends. Like the dynamics of the team are always different each year. So like having served on 2 different teams, like Molly and I would both say the same thing. It was very different year 1 to year 2, like completely different teams. So very different experiences. But I definitely would have, at the time, not been, like, opposed to the idea of continuing to work with student life. But I also wasn't, I wasn't, like, set on it. I wasn't like, oh, yeah, I'm never leaving. But it was, like A said, whenever I didn't have that going on, that I realized I really enjoyed having that as part of, like, my life, because it was also a major part of, like, my main community was definitely Unbound at that time. And so I kind of felt like I'd stepped out of that even a little bit when I was on cabinet, so.
That's really cool. Yeah.
As accurate as it felt. Like I didn't actually step as far out as it felt that I did when I was on cabinet because it was a different level of involvement. So yeah.
I would kind of answer no to your question. And there have definitely been really like pivotal events for me. And like pretty much all the events have changed my life in some way or another. But I think with Megan being my sister and the fact like pretty much from the moment that she first was exposed to the community online on the forums, way old person, it was like
she just called Megan a way old person.
Megan, if you're listening to this.
No, we just talked about how it's been 10 years since she first was exposed to the community, which is a long time.
She is an ancient one. 100%.
Okay.
How old were you whenever she?
I was 12.
Okay. That gives a lot more context for how long she was involved. So it's also been 10 years for you.
Yes, it has. So it pretty much like from the time she first started looking at the forums, she talked nonstop about the community. Like, I'm not even kidding you. It was to the point where it was like, Megan doesn't talk about anything except the College Plus people. And so because of that, and I really did not want to become a student for a long, like adamantly did not want to become a student for a long time. And then I did, and then I was like, well, I'm never working for them. And then I got on the cabinet, and then I started working. And so, but it just kind of always felt inevitable that I would be involved in some way or another. And the longer that Megan was involved, and then, you know, I went to APEX and, you know, got on the cabinet, the more it continued to feel inevitable. And at this point in time, I'm like, I'm no longer a student. I'm no longer on the cabinet. I have like no connection, but I'm just never going to leave the community is pretty much what I realized, because even, you know, if Megan were to leave, it's like Ellie's involved and like, you know, the brushes, like, it's just like, has just kind of felt inevitable for a while. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like I'm forced to be here, but I think there hasn't been an event that was like, you know, okay, now I've decided.
I get that.
It's just like, it runs in my blood. It's pretty much how I look at it at this
point. That
point.
makes total sense. It does.
She's here for life, people.
So when you come to APEX in 2040,
I'll be hobbling on my crutch. The ripe old age of
You're gonna have
41. 2040.
It's not that far.
Moving on.
No, it's good. I like, for me, like getting involved in the community, the interest definitely was after our capstone in 2018. I had been in the community a year. I was working basically full time and trying to do school on time. And so I was kind of like, I don't really have time for student life events and stuff. And I was getting the emails and it's like, yeah, it sounded cool, but I don't really have time. But then after capstone, it was kind of like, wow, these are pretty cool people. And there could be some pretty cool connections here. And so went to APEX in 18 and enjoyed it. But I figured I would kind of stay much more on the, you know, just coming to events and stuff. Yeah. And then I got an email from Hannah Lindy in January of 2019, and she was like, well, we need extra help. So you want to help with the SLI? And so I joined the Everlasting SLI and, kind of went from there. So I would say really decisive moment was to be involved in anyway was Capstone, but there was never necessarily one defined moment of I want to be involved in leadership. It just kind of got presented, and it was kind of like, wow, sounds like a good opportunity. So
just the fact that we were paired together at Capstone, I like to think that had a little something to do with being a cool person,
right?
Kicking
That friendly helping face. How
right? Yeah, and it's interesting because even for me, and you mentioned Hannah. Shout out to Hannah Lindy. She was so instrumental in bringing me into helping with Unbound. I think I started it's interesting because I was never in any of the leadership teams. I was always that loner who dipped myself into all of them and helped. And so I really started out as just a kid who was interested in video, and I wanted to do that. And Aubrey, shout out to Aubrey Matney, she was running the YouTube channel and video at the time. Almost everything I know now, in part started with her with Unbound channel. So just, very grateful. But anyways, she posted this thing on the Facebook group. It was like, hey, we're looking for a video intern. And I'm like, why not? So I applied. I wasn't expecting anything, but then, Jonathan and Aubrey called me up and they're like, hey, we want to interview. And I was so freaked out because I wasn't expecting this to happen. And somehow it happened. It was just so funny mentioning Hannah too, because I remember obviously I was helping Hannah. I got on with Jared Wiggins. That's why we're great friends. And getting to APEX with Aubrey, and Aubrey showing us around and where our cameras will be, and Hannah Lindy just sitting there in the corner going, "Oh, are those your interns, Aubrey?" And Jared and I just walking out in disgust. So that whole week we were Aubrey's interns, and we totally hated that, but it was very bonding. And it kind of started from there, I think, and you just again, obviously with community and everything, just being more involved slowly and seeing how there is something special here and wanting to build on that. So that's been really cool. I do want to ask you guys though. So we, again, mentioned all the ways that community has influenced us to be involved. And Molly, you were talking about how almost every event, something has happened that helped change your life. So what is one of those lessons that you feel has been impactful for you guys, whether events or Unbound in general?
Do you want lessons or things that were said that were very impactful?
Sure. Well, I'll go first. How's that? Okay. I have a thought. I look back at so-called things that changed my life, and I've realized that it really isn't dramatic. People talk about their whole life-changing experience and whatever. And I think there were some of those moments for me, but even those moments where it wasn't dramatic, someone said something to me and something clicked, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, something just, makes sense more or whatever. And I know one lesson that I definitely learned, actually at Grad Project as well, because it started with one of the speakers, Josh Wilson. Shout out to him. He mentored me with a lot of stuff. And then going into APEX 2017 as well. One of the things that he said to me that totally wrecked young Abe Chen's life was talking about how what we do does not define who we are. And I think now, us being slightly more mature, we've gone through that lesson. But just back then, when you're trying to get there as a student, you're trying to get there as a, student leader, you are trying to figure out your career, especially in videography or film, there's that huge temptation to be like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I am Unbound. And I'm going to conquer the world and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And just that kind of deep realization of if who you are and what you do is not defined by Christ, everything else is going to fall apart. and you are totally experiencing that already. So you better than learn this now kind of thing. And so that was one of those small things talking with Josh, where it's just like one of those, clunk, it kind of clicks in your mind like, oh my gosh, huh? And so that, just even that moment after 2017, I think affected how I saw so many things, interacting with community afterwards, where it's not just about how cool I am. It's not about like how unbound, like you're doing all this crazy stuff and traveling or, whatever, changing the world. Those are good things. And that is what we want to empower people to do. But at the heart of it, if you are not, defined and in Christ with everything that you do, it's, you're going to feel empty eventually. So that was for me. What about you guys?
Yeah.
That was super deep.
Wow,
I know.
that was very profound.
That's good.
That was it doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be deep, but I do want to hear. It could be like, I don't know, just any other.
Tim eats crayons.
Yeah.
My life has been changed.
There you
No, in all honesty, there's been a few different things that come to mind, but probably the one thing that jumps out the most, it wasn't ever, like this big dramatic moment, but like after at my first APEX in 2018, after Jonathan Brush's opening session about being extraordinary at the ordinary, he played Dream Small by Josh Wilson. And the way he ended it and then going into that song, like, I don't know, something clicked a little bit. And it's like, I have never really thought about, the mundane, the ordinary, and in the same way again. I've always looked at it much differently of even this little thing has some impact,
That was
can go
so
a long
cool.
way. So
I love how even just like the music at APEX, so I'm pretty sure it was Jared and Jonathan scheming about that. So nice. I like that.
Excellent. So
Okay, I have, it's kind of dovetails off of that, just like a small moment. So I don't know why this is coming to me, but in 2018, at the very tail end, me and some other Unbound people, Ellie was there, we went on this trip to the beach in Gold Beach in Oregon, and it was like the most God ordained, but in a weird way, trip.
Hey, that sounds like God, yeah.
It really does. We had planned the whole trip a year before, literally 12 months in advance. In advance, because all the beach houses up there book way in advance. And so Savannah Grant had been like, I'm going to invite a bunch of people to the beach house and we're going to nail it down a year in advance and everyone needs to come because you already paid your deposit 12 months ago. And so we did, pretty much I think everyone
I think so.
who had originally committed. And
except me, I remember that. I was
really
sad.
I didn't know you were supposed to come.
Well,
I'm sorry.
now you know. So.
We would have loved to have you.
I know. I wanted to be there. I think I put out a deposit, but just life happened, and wasn't able to go.
That's crazy.
So, anyways, keep going.
So everyone except Dave came. But it was so crazy because in those 12 months, life had changed dramatically for pretty much all the people who went on that trip. And a lot of really tough stuff had happened. 2018 was not a great year for most of the people who went on that trip. And so we all arrived just kind of battered and bruised coming into this trip.
Yeah.
And I remember one night I was sitting, we had this great big beach house, and I was sitting in the kitchen and everyone else had gone to cook. Were they hobo dinners? Is that what it's called?
Oh,
the hobo
you put it all in the foil and throw it on fire.
Yeah. Full dinners, yep.
And they were all doing this out on a bonfire on the beach, but I didn't really feel like going out in the cold again because really chilly because it's October. And so I was like, I'm just going to eat my chips and salsa inside. And then one of the people on the trip comes out and we started talking and it was just we both thought we had the whole house to ourselves because it was so quiet. And then we were like, oh, hi. And so then we started talking. And then slowly one by one, other people started filtering in. And we ended up having this whole conversation. And it wasn't a life-changing conversation. There was nothing really dramatic said that reoriented my whole perspective. But it was one of those moments where it was everyone, all these people coming together who were having a really tough time in life. And some of the people weren't my best friends because they were all Savannah's friends. And I didn't even know some of the people there very well. And so it's really cool that we were all able to come together in some really weird life circumstances. It was kind of a weird trip, but like we were able to just kind of sit down and be chill together. And I think that just like, I don't know, the other events that I had done in 2016, I walked into APEX. I didn't really know anybody. The people I did know were through Megan, so I like knew a weird amount about their life, and they didn't know me, and I was just like, eh. And then like 2017 and 2018, I was on the cabinet, so it was kind of like I was staff, and so I was A, too busy to really talk to people, and B, most of the people just knew me as like the person on stage, so they felt like they knew me, and I was like, we're not really like friends though, because like we haven't really talked. And so that trip, I think, was one of the first times that I had like really personal connections with a lot of people in the Unbound group.
That's really cool.
So that was, I don't know, that memory just pops to mind as like a really personal moment.
Yeah.
Thing that comes to mind for me would be my second year on cabinet, which, circling back around to Molly laughing whenever I said that in 2018, I would have said I was having fun. But
We'll have to do a whole podcast about that.
I know. Anyway, so I was on cabinet for 2 years, and the first year I just remember, like, I don't remember a lot of distinct details about the first year. I just remember it being a lot of fun, and I remember the cabinet was all like just really great friends, and like the relational bond was so like intense, and everybody just loved each other and worked so well, and all that. But that was the main thing that I remember from that year, was just being really good friends. And I remember going into the second year at APEX in 2017. I had decided already that I wanted to come back for a second year, but the other members of the cabinet who came back hadn't decided yet, and I was determined. I was like, no, we should come back like all together and work again on the same team. So I remember talking to Molly about it. I talked to a couple other members about it, like on the phone over the next like couple months, and I was like, you should come back to the cabinet. And just thinking, well, I just remember like my mindset was like, we should do it again, and thinking going into it that that's what it would be, like cabinet again, as in like a repeat. And I went into it and was just hit broadside by a completely different experience. And it was a different team, so the dynamics were different. That year the cabinet restructured a little bit, and so that was different. And I remember going into that year and almost, like, looking back now, I think I went into it feeling like somewhat entitled to the same experience, which is just not what happens any year on the cabinet. Like, it changes every year. Yeah, or in life. And so, like, it was very challenging. It was very stressful. I remember, like, it was like a roller coaster experience. Like, it would be going great, and then it would be going horrible, and like all this stuff. And the way that I handled it was like, there were some good times, there were some really bad times with the way that I handled it. And I remember like that entire year just being very instrumental in teaching me a lot about change, and the fact that sometimes things change, they're completely outside of your control, and it's not even. Sometimes, like, the change isn't even necessarily initiated by an action of another person. It's just, like, an environmental change just because, like, you're with other people, or your goal is different, or you're working on a different project, and it's just not always the same across the board. But the cabinet was one of my first, like, team experiences. And so, like, that was the first time I worked with a team and did something professional, and it just went so well the first year. So I was like, this is great. I'm great at this. This is, like, my vibe. And then the second year, I was like, oh, no, the vibe changed. So it was very it was a massive learning experience for me, and overall, like, really great. And honestly, one of the main reasons I encourage people to apply for cabinet now is because of the second year. The second year taught me leaps and bounds more than the first year. Again, from the first year, what I remember is that we were all really good friends. The second year, I could tell you lots of stories about lots of projects and different things that we did, and like all like details about the cabinet experience the second year. And the first year, it's just like this relational blob of a memory, like, which is nothing bad about the first year, but it's just the second year was, I guess, more clarifying in terms of like how to actually work in a team and how to deal with conflict in like professional settings. And I don't think I would have learned that or have like the skills that I have now, which are still developing, if I hadn't done the second year. And so I think that was one of the biggest like learning experiences for me within the Unbound community.
Which is really cool because, like, you know, Unbound it's about community, and it's great, you know.
And you think like it's about community, so it's just all fun.
No,
but it's actually really challenging.
Exactly, and that's like the next level stuff. Because like I do say this a lot, where we Unbounders, we do have the problem of we love to talk. We talk a lot, but then the real stuff is like you get in the teams, or like I mean, just life happens,
Yeah.
you know, and you get the conflicts and like the actual community stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where you actually grow. And yeah, you know, you do stuff. And that's what Unbound is all about. Of like, you learn through your experience. You learn by doing all these things.
Yeah, for sure. I think with the cabinet, I don't know, like, if Ellie would agree with this, but that second year really taught a lot about responsibility. Like,
Yes.
the first year, because it was like, oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's like funny. And then the second year, it was like, oh my gosh, we really have to step up to the challenge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
Which is
handle
part
the
of the-
conflict and take a lot of the projects on ourselves.
Right, which is part of the structuring, because we
Right.
they restructured the team, and it did end up putting more responsibility on different
Hmm.
people
Right.
to lead different teams. Which
Interesting. Yeah, guys, that was really, really good. I feel like I've learned a little bit more about you guys as well, just your experiences and all that. We mentioned APEX a lot, so if you want to experience a lot of what we're talking about as an Unbound student, or if you're just curious about what this whole Unbound experience is, you should definitely talk to a student. There are ways that you can reach us. So let's start with APEX first. So we have current cabinet here. So tell us about where people can find more information, how they can register if they're a student, all these things. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So best place to get information is the website. So I think it's apex.bunbound.us. It's a great place to go to find out. And if you're on the forums, you can check out any of the cabinet members, check out the announcements. And let's see, what else? Definitely check it out. We have some really cool marketing stuff coming up. So keep an eye out on the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And overall, if you want to experience like the type of community and the type of relationships that we're talking about, like these types of conversations where you go from, you know, the deep meaning of life to eating crayons in one conversation, if you want to experience some of that, definitely come to APEX in Michigan in August. This year, we're really excited to be focusing on culture because of the times that we live in. And we're going to focus on how that we can take responsibility in our current cultures to create change that actually makes a difference. And we're going to focus on being teachable and then on actually being creative in the ways that we make change. So this year, we're really passionate about giving students the tools to actually go home and make a difference, whether that difference is starting with one friend or one person, or whether that difference is for an entire community. And what we're hoping is going to happen is that this starts a series of events all across the country where people are willing to take the initiative, take responsibility, and step up and make change. If that's something you're interested in, check out the resources I mentioned earlier. Get in touch with one of us, and we're always happy to talk more about it. Hope to see you there.
Totally. And Ellie, talk to us about Unbound itself. We have the Ascend program, which is for all college students. So tell us a little bit about that and where people can find information about that.
Yeah, so if you're wanting to get involved in Unbound as a student as a whole, then you should definitely check out the Ascend program. Ascend is Unbound's project-based higher education program where if you enroll, you'll work on a team of other students. You'll gain life and academic coaching. You'll attend expert webinars. You'll actually attend APEX as part of your enrollment in addition to 2 other student events. So, you know, you're going to have your tickets booked for you, just like you're a celebrity because in our opinion you are. But yeah, you should check that out. You can find it at beunbound.us/ascend. Regular registration is closing at the end of May, so if you want to enroll for currently the lowest price you can, then you should definitely get in touch. You can email me at ellie@beunbound.us if you want to set up a time to talk, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And then if you want to just keep up with Unbound, then you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at beunbound. So
100%. Yeah, I'm sure you'll see all of us, you know, on different platforms. If you're a student already, check out the forums. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. This was fun. Don't eat crayons. I just want to be clear. Unbound does not endorse that.
Or glue sticks.
But this has been amazing. I'm so glad we got to do this, especially in person. Guys, be Unbound. Have fun out there. And we'll all catch you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.